What's happening? This is Joshua Buatsi and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Okay, so Joshua Buatsi, he signed a contract with Boxxer and Sky Sports. So he's left Matchroom, he's left DAZN. And he didn't just leave Matchroom and DAZN, he left with parting shots, which surprised me a little bit because, you know, we've seen Joshua Buatsi speak, do many interviews. I've met him in that before as well, as I'm sure that some of you have as well. Very, very nice, humble lad. And I'm not going to say he wasn't humble, but he was having a lot of digs at Eddie Hearn. He was having digs at DAZN. The fact that he was saying how he wants people to know when he's fighting. In other words, if you're fighting on an app, and he did call it an app, then you're not really going to know that I'm fighting. I want people to know who I am. I want people to see my profile being built, and I want people to, if they can't get to the arena, know where to find me. Switch on your TV. I'm not going to ask you to download an app, put in your email and your bank details. I'm not going to ask you to do that. So that was a hell of a parting shot. Now, of course, most people knew that he was about to sign with Boxxer. Of course, I got the email a few days ago about there being a press conference and that there. And it's not a surprise from one perspective, because obviously Sky Sports, they are handing out some good money and what have you. And if you're going to be on the Sky Sports roster, the Boxxer roster, you may not necessarily get lost in the shuffle. Whereas Matchroom, they've got such a vast, large stable, you may get lost in the shuffle. But of course, he was offered, again, according to Eddie Hearn, he was offered £1 million to fight Dimitri Bivol for the world lightweight title, light heavyweight title, the WBA version. And he turned it down. But what Joshua Buatsi did say there was, he didn't tell you the full story. I was offered that fight. I was offered that kind of money, but it came with a stipulation. You've got to stick with us for another few fights. Now, that's good business from Eddie Hearn. I mean, you wouldn't want to pay somebody a lot of money. Say, for example, Buatsi fought Bivol. Buatsi beats Bivol and becomes a free agent. You want to try and capitalise on that success. Of course you do. So that's one of the reasons why Joshua Buatsi turned it down. He didn't want to be tied down to an app. He had a bit of a parting shot about Frank Warren and that as well. But ultimately, of course, he knows Sky Sports. He's been with Sky Sports for most of his career. And he's been on DAZN for like his last couple of fights. Now, him turning down Bivol, again, according to his trainer, Virgil Hunter, it was probably too early for him to take that fight anyway. So where does he go? Who does he fight? What does he do? Of course, people talk about Dan Aziz. Well, we know them two are good friends. Are they going to fight now, this year? You wouldn't have thought so. You wouldn't have thought so. I mean, Dan Aziz versus Joshua Buatsi would be a very good fight. I would love to see that fight. I would. Be a bit of a pick-em. It would, wouldn't it? But I think they're looking at a different route. They're going to try and get the other fights. They're going to try and get some good light heavyweight fights for Joshua Buatsi, because he is ranked quite high across 2 or 3 of the sanctioned bodies. I think he's ranked in the top 3 or 4, something like that. So the opportunity's in there, and even though, is he mandatory or something like that? No, he's not mandatory, but he's very close to it, where he could be mandatory for a Bivol or a Beterbiev. You don't have to be with Boxxer. You don't have to be with Matchroom. You don't have to be with Top Rank to get those particular fights. Because ultimately, if he gets mandated, people got a purse bid. And if you're with Sky Sports, if they have a lot of money in that behind them, then win the purse bid, deliver that fight anyway, can't you? Now, what I will say, though, is that I'd love Boxxer to put on some UK shows. Start stacking out a little bit, because they have lacked so far in the UK shows. It seems that they're linking themselves up with some foreign shows. Of course, they've got on April 22nd, the one in Poland. They've recently just done one in France last weekend, and of course, once long ago, they did one in Florian Marku's neck of the woods of Albania. So they seem to be stretching their legs a little bit as far as that's concerned. But I do wonder if they're just tagging other promoters just to get some of their fights out there. I don't know, is there a lack of money? Is Sky Sports not giving them money to put on shows? Because it's very unusual. It's quite concerning, really. But anyway, listen, maybe I'm being paranoid, I don't know. Because obviously there's a lot of Sky Sports British fighters who need fight dates, and they're not really getting them. So anyway, I think that Joshua Buatsi, him going to Sky Sports, is no surprise. It's a bit of a surprise in some ways. I mean, is he still with 258 management, Joshua? I don't know if he is. If he is, again, he's just had a bit of a parting shot at Anthony Joshua's platform of DAZN. But it does appear that quite a few Matchroom fighters are leaving to go to Sky Sports or whatever else. So something's going on, isn't it? I suppose in time we'll find out. Anyway, my thoughts. Drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.